Welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Tights podcast right here on capesandtights.com. I'm your host, Justin Soderberg. We're hosting a returning guest, Paul Eaton of Galactic Comics and Collectibles in Bangor, Maine. We're here to talk the Generation X made for TV, which was originally pilot for a TV series turned into TV movie on Fox that came out in 1996. We're here to discuss that, the X-Men films, a bunch more, including at the very end of this episode, we're talking a little bit about our convention that's coming up, our comic show coming up in June 2024 here in Maine. So check that out. But before you do, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, follow us on all those. Like, rate, review, subscribe, all those things over on Spotify, Apple, and all your major podcasting platforms, as well as check out our YouTube channel and visit capesandtights.com. This is our episode reviewing the Generation X made-for-TV movie with Paul Eaton of Galactic Comics and Collectibles. Enjoy, everyone. Recording in progress.
There it is.
Whose voice do you think that is, Paul? Is that a computer-generated voice, or is that like a Siri person?
Right? That's probably an AI.
Well, welcome to the podcast, Paul. This is how we do things here on the Capes and Tights podcast. Yeah. So we're going to talk
professionally.
Movie reviews. At some point, Paul will come back on. It was nice to have the little break because we did the comics of the year, but at some point we'll come on and just shoot the shit about comics again. But we do a lot of this fun movie reviews. If anybody doesn't know, that's what we do. Originally, we had decided to do whatever movies, and then we just decided that it's more fun to pick apart and watch some of these movies. We've never seen before, or haven't seen in a long time. And technically this, some people classify this Generation X as a TV pilot because it originally was supposed to be, but then they did re-release it or like decide they weren't going to go forward with it and then release it as a TV movie. So he was originally a TV pilot for a TV show and then became a TV movie. So this technically qualifies as a movie review. Yeah. In my opinion.
Yeah. I was reading this aired as like a movie run or something Fox was doing.
They were looking at potentially do that, and then they ended up optioning not to. And maybe this is the reason why.
It's funny.
This movie is the reason why.
I had never heard of this movie at all.
The internet, man. That's what happens. You go online, you type in like you type in things like movies based on comic book, comics or Marvel comics, and it comes up. And so I was like, oh, what the hell? So I finally was able to search and find it on the internet, because there's certain things that aren't easily found because it seems like Marvel and Disney are like, we don't want you to find this.
Ew. Yeah, I don't think this is coming to Marvel or Disney Plus anytime soon. Yeah. I did see, when I looked it up to read about it a little bit more, I did see that it is on YouTube, or I don't know if it's the whole thing or only clips of it, but yeah, for all you YouTube subscribers out there, you can go ahead and watch Generation X.
It's an interesting movie, for sure.
I think interesting is not a bad term for this.
So yeah, we're here to talk movie reviews, and so it's fun to do these things because they're out of the ordinary. And Paul mentioned before, but like Paul's wife is always like, "Why does Justin make you watch these?" And to be honest with you, I honestly would rather watch these than a lot of the other movies that are out there. I mean, like, it's because it's like I wouldn't just sit down and watch these movies when there's a point to it, when there's an actual reason to watch this and to discuss it. That makes sense. I'm not just going to throw on Generation X, not to be confused with D-Generation X, just so everybody knows, not to be confused with D-Generation X. But no, the
D-Generation X movie from back in the day, I think might have been better than this. I'm not sure.
But that's the thing.
So it's like a 30-minute.
And that's why this has to be taken a little bit differently, because it was a TV show. But we all know, until more recently, until like Game of Thrones, the new Marvel shows and things like that, things were treated as TV shows.
Do you think HBO started this trend of like having high quality television shows that are more like movies? Do you think that's sort of like the HBO trend?
Yeah, because I mean, Game of Thrones was like, I think, one of the first ones to actually have budgets that were like movie budgets, or at least a scaled down movie budget. But like okay, the budget for this, the budget, quote unquote, according to the internet, for this was $4 million. But $4 million to make an episode of a TV show is actually not crazy for a lot of times nowadays. Like, that's what the budgets are. When you get into 20 episode seasons, and
This
Yeah.
was like 96, right? Like
Yeah.
what was the average budget of a TV show then or something like that? Like
And do we know
go back
whether or
and
not
look at
this
like
was?
X-Files or comparable
I mean, does this episode
shows.
was
Like
this
how much
two
did that cost?
episodes? Was it long? Was it more because it actually was like an hour and a half
Yeah,
long?
it was probably would have been like what? Like probably 2 episodes or like if this was gonna
Well,
be
so
an
it's
hour
80,
show or if this was gonna
yeah,
be a half
87
hour
minutes would
show.
be an hour and 27-minute episode for 1996 would be a long, long show.
Yeah.
So it would probably have been the pilot split into 2 episodes. And so if it's $2
Right.
million an episode in 1996, maybe that was a little high. Maybe not, but like maybe some of that's post stuff to get it to be made into a movie. I don't know how someone figured that budget. Someone probably heard in a conversation was like, yeah, $4 million. Let's put it on the internet.
Seems reasonable.
So it could have been made. It could have been
around.
made for. It could have been made for $800,000. We don't know. We found it out on the internet. It says $4 million. So whether that's true or not, we'll see. But yeah, I don't know. Like the fact that like episodes of Game of Thrones are made for, I don't know, Game of
Oh, that's got to be holy smokes.
Cost.
What do you think? An episode of Game of Thrones has got to be well over.
Okay, so
right?
$6 million per episode is what they say, but some of them jumped in the last season 6, 7, and the final season, they were between $10 and $15 million an episode.
But you gotta figure too, like we're looking 96. Like the CGI and stuff and special effects used in this probably were more expensive then because it wasn't as commonly readily used as it is nowadays. Like I'm sure that a lot is streamlined in that production stuff now than was back then. I'm gonna throw it out there, Justin. You ready for this? You ready for the earth shaking thing? I liked it. I actually liked Generation X. It was entertaining. I was entertained during it. If you're putting this up against other things we've watched, I liked it a lot better than Man Thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry, did I cut you off? I just want to read it. $3 to $4 million is the average cost of as a drama series in the mid 90s. It says
so it was about
$2 to $2.5 million for a sitcom, which would be half an hour. This would have been more of an hour drama series.
So this was about on par realistically for costs of it. So the special effects are definitely 96 made for TV special effects, but they aren't horrible. I think they at least matched other things of that timeline versus like going back and watching the $1 billion Fantastic Four movie that do not match the special effects of that timeline. If you pair this up against stuff that was on in that era, if I had been like 96, all right, I would have been a freshman in high school. If this had gone on to be a TV series, I would have watched it.
100%.
Like if this was available, I would have watched this back in 96. As a like Marvel purist, I'm fortunate in the fact that I have never read Generation X. I mean, I know Emma, and I knew because it's focused around Emma, and there it is, the Jubilee.
First appearance, X-Men 318, first appearance of Gen X. So it's the first appearance. I have it written here. So first.
Okay, that's our first Gen X appearance. That's right. That's right.
First Gen X appearance right here. So this is when she leaves the X-Men of that.
School.
So yeah. Me either. I was not a huge. I mean, I have this comic because early days of collecting comics, I was let's get some first appearances, and this is like $3 first appearance.
So why not? So I don't know because Cassidy, Banshee, and Emma Frost are the two like head of the school, and I don't know if that's accurate to Generation X or not. I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I don't know the students. I read that 2 students of this were created for the show because 2 of the characters in the comics would have been too hard to portray their powers.
Yeah.
And if they were popular, they said if the show took off, because Stan Lee was on the production team of this, they were going to add the 2 characters from the show into Marvel Comics. Had this been successful, like a successful run. So, reading that, it sounds like the other characters were probably in the comics.
Yeah,
but never in Generation X, I don't really know. So
Generation X #1, the actual comic book, featured Chamber, Husk, Jubilee, M, Skin, and Cinch. So out of those, if you ask anybody, name one of those people that you know, the only one people are going to say is Jubilee. Like Jubilee. there's not many people that but like most things. Good.
I was reading like Chamber and Husk were the 2 left out. And Husk they sort of included with the new girl, Ari. was an addition that was essentially Husk having super strength, but Husk like tears their skin off and is like a different muscle bound version underneath. And they couldn't do Chamber because he's essentially a walking nuclear power plant. Like his whole upper torso and head is just like a floating skull in this giant energy thing. So like at that point, there was no way they were going to do that. But yeah, you're right. Jubilee is like the only known character in any of this.
I mean, if you go further down, I mean, like I'm looking at the characters that are in it on Wikipedia, and so you go further down, and so at issues 18 through 25, Franklin Richards is part of the group, so that's obviously someone knows. A Leech is in there. Mondo is added.
Leech was in Exterminators, I think, originally, and then came into.
So there was, I mean, the 75 issue. First of all, Generation X went for 75 issues, which doesn't surprise me. It has an X in it, so like it's an X comic.
Back then, especially in the 90s, with the height of it. I mean, you're talking, with X92, I think that picked up generations of X-Men fans. The original animated. That was my launch point to X-Men. Officially, really becoming a big thing was that animated series. So it makes sense. You made up to 96 and you still have some of that generation in there grabbing comics and stuff. So if it says X, they're going to buy it.
Yeah. And so 75 issues came out. You guessed, you might know this, but how many different iterations of the team Generation X do you think are in the 75 issues, the first 75 issues?
I'm going to say a dozen.
22.
Holy smoke.
And it's probably more like 20 because issues 1 through 3
together well, then.
Yes, exactly. 1 through 3 and issues 14 through 17 have the exact same group, but that's just different times. They added and subtracted people. And the same thing, the main group is Chamber, Husk, Jubilee, M, Skin, Cinch, and Penance. That's the one that stays together the most throughout this whole thing.
And Penance was originally Speedball from Spider-Man was his first appearance. Yeah, and he becomes Penance. Yeah.
And so
then he goes on to the not New Avengers.
I don't know. Speedball.
I can't remember.
Hold on. Where is this? Penance?
Trying to keep up with all the
Hollow.
X.
Hollow is formerly known as Penance. But again, I guess the point is, Paul, is on this whole thing is this to me is similar to when we've talked about it in the past about picking random people to make movies for. Like this has the X in it, and this is an X thing. It's got Professor X's school, all that stuff in it. But it's little known characters. It's Jubilee and a bunch of people that people don't know. And to go this route for a TV thing, to get people to watch it, it's just a weird. It's weird.
Choice. But we got a bunch of angsty teenagers.
Yes.
Which is gonna be great for especially 96 era here. It might be safer going Generation X than if they were trying to do X-Men and it not look good. And
correct,
your X-Men purists being very upset. You're not gonna back in 96 probably have a very good interpretation of Beast on screen. Wolverine. You've got these super mainstream loved characters, so why not maybe go off and say, we'll use these guys that less people know, and we're not gonna upset people no matter how this comes out.
And who knows?
The main character, Jubilee, the most relevant one, her powers were well portrayed. They look. I mean, she essentially shoots fireworks out of her fingers. Big whoop.
The episode aired in February 20th of 1996, but that means they made it in 95. But that still could mean that behind the scenes in the Marvel world of creating movies, they were in development for the movie that came out in 2000 for X-Men, and so they wouldn't want to touch what's coming out then. With this, and the fact that there's also Marvel didn't really have the ability to say yes or no to this. Fox owned the rights to the X characters, and so they basically were able to do what they wanted. It does make sense. I mean, 5 years later, Smallville came out. You know what I mean? So like in that sense that like it was in people's minds to do this like angsty teenager.
It was definitely getting big in this era. And I felt like this was kind of what I was comparing it to, was giving it a little leeway, but sort of comparing it to Smallville. And Smallville has like the occasional cheese factor in it. And this is definitely like cheesy, kind of hokey,
Made for young adults, made for teenagers. It's not made for you and I. It's not made for another person.
Intended for 40-year-old man to watch and pick apart.
In 96 too, Paul.
I don't think I was the target audience.
If you think about 96 too, that was the end of the animated series run too. So like 96, 97 is right around there where the end of the series came. And so the name Jubilee was known to people in that sense, because she was in the animated thing. And so maybe they could have been like, we just did the animated thing. Let's do a live action thing featuring someone from it, which is Jubilee, and then make it different and so on. But like it as a whole, it's a weird thing for me to think about, like, okay, Generation X is what they went with instead of X-Men. However,
it's an obscure pick.
It makes sense in the sense that they're trying to do something different, as well as if they didn't want to mess up a property, like, you know, they just learned from Fantastic Four that they don't want to just take one and throw it to it, that they could do this. And this could have also checked the box off saying we did something with X-related characters, but we didn't actually do the X-Men. You know what I mean? Like, there could have been that whole, like, we get to keep the rights because we did something with it.
We did it. We made it. Yeah, that's interesting. There wasn't a lot about that either, as far as like, because I did some internet scrolling afterwards, and there wasn't a lot about this development and why this was necessarily made. But I mean, if you look at me growing up, X-Men 92, I'm all in, I'm loving it, and now 1996, I'm a freshman in high school. You know, I've grown out of my cartoons and action figures stuff there, and you're going straight into, well, then here is, you know, this group of teenagers, live action. I totally would have just gone straight on board with it. Like, it would have been like, oh yeah, all right, I can keep doing my superhero thing and doing this in the era where, you know, you're in high school and it's less cool to be into superheroes and this and that. So in some respects, it's really wasn't a bad marketing campaign employed for its time. It just I don't know, they just didn't do something right, apparently, because obviously
I don't think maybe marketing wasn't there, because I was 10. Okay, so I was born in 86. I was 10 when this came out, or almost 10. I was 9, but I would have been 10 in May. But I watched the animated X-Men TV show. So, you know, it's not like I'm 10 years old. I would have watched this show easily. Would have watched this show at 10 years old. But I literally didn't know about it until about last year. Do you know what I mean? Like, so they didn't even wasn't even on my radar as a big comic book fan and big X-Men fan. So this apparently got like one showing on Fox, and it was just like, it's gone. Like, now we'll just pretend it never happened again. Yeah, which is weird, because like, it's not really all that bad. The villain is interesting. Well,
could they not afford Jim Carrey?
I wrote poor man's Jim Carrey. I wrote poor man's Jim Carrey on
this guy is like, it is spot on watching Jim Carrey on screen. It was like they found a guy and was like, hey, can you just act like Jim Carrey for us? Yes. Go watch Batman Forever with him as the Riddler, and then can you just turn that up a notch, and you're totally going to be him. If you want to get into like Russ something is the main character. He's made up too. I double checked him. I was like, is he a villain? Like, is he a mutant?
I think he's probably an amalgam of like a multiple people, but like multiple.
He's very Shadow King like, right? Like Shadow King, you enter these shadow realms and he could be there, and it's very dangerous. You could run into him, and that's kind of the thing in this where the kids enter this dreamscape land. For those that obviously haven't watched Generation X, and they run into him out there. So he felt sort of like Shadow King from the comics, a little bit. Except this guy was.
His name is Russell Tresh, and
Tresh, there you go.
The actor is Matt Frewer,
right?
Matt Frewer, and he actually was, if anybody doesn't know, is Moloch, Mollochk, sorry, Molloch from Watchmen.
Really?
I don't know what. I'm not a Watchmen fan.
I've only watched Watchmen once.
He was the voice of Panic in the Hercules movie in '97.
Okay.
He was Big Russ Thompson in 1989's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and he was, if anybody watches, was one of my favorite. Honestly, people sometimes hate me for this, but is Dawn of the Dead, the 2004 Dawn of the Dead movie. I believe is better than the original, which people kind of any horror fans are crucified me for that. But he was also Frank in that. So like, he is someone that's been like around Hollywood. He's still acting, I think, to this day. He was just in a TV show in 2020. So like, he is out there. He was Logan on The Walking Dead for 6 episodes.
He's super high energy in this movie. Like, super high energy. He's definitely got like a weird creepy vibe to him.
He's
like,
totally Jim Carrey though.
But he is. He's 100% dream. It's like they just didn't paint him green and he was just a mask.
Yeah.
Like, so hardcore. We just pull Jim Carrey for this because he's like just bouncing all over the place and weird facial features and like a high pitch changing like voice, and it's just strange. But
it's strange too. And also, you're picking character. Like, why do you make a villain? The villain. So you're not talking about a character in the Generation X group that you're just making up for the TV show because you're trying to fill this group out. And villain, or in some of the original characters are hard to cast because of special effects and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then you take the main villain, the person who gets like 50% of the screen time based on everything else because they're the main villain, and make that person a non-real character that really has no bearing anywhere else ever, has never been touched, has never been like, it's just been this random character. Like, why wouldn't you pick something
that you know
and have to? And here's the other part about it. I just put these two together. Jack Sholder, the guy who directed this, also directed A Nightmare on Elm Street 2, Freddy's Revenge, which has to do with nightmares. And so I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, oh my God, this guy just went back to the well. He was just like, gotta do it. Right. We're just gonna do dreams, nights, and nightmares in this thing. But yeah, I don't know. I just don't understand why that's the villain they went with. Not that they were bad. Weird. I actually think it was kind of creepy and weird. It was like actually added to the movie.
Well, and with him being threatening to like come back, and I mean, so first of all, he enters people's dreams and he can like leave this subconscious idea that you can do anything. I mean, one guy ends up killing himself because of it. He thinks he's asleep and he's like, just step off the ledge, and he's so you get that like creepy terror idea of like what he could do to someone, and then the idea that like your restful time, you're going to sleep and he's always going to be there at night like tormenting you, like that's a legit like, wow, all right, that's kind of terrifying if you want to get down to it. But it was a really strange choice to use a character that has nothing to do with the comics. And I felt like in some respects we could have introduced the kids and this and that and had an easier plot line of them dealing with anti-mutant things and just have a human villain that's not into all this weird dreamscape stuff.
Is that hindsight though? Because it worked so well in X-Men in X-Men the movie 2000, like that worked. Like that's what they did in that movie, and so looking back on it, was like, oh, they should have just done that. But like,
it's a much simpler plot line.
Obviously, comics. That's what the X-Men's all about. But like, that's what X-Men started out to be, and so like, it does make sense to do that. But like, they just jumped into this whole thing, and they also grabbed the beginning of like the X-Men animated series. If you watch like the pilots of the X-Men animated series, where Jubilee goes to Xavier's school, was like the exact same thing in this too. It was like they pulled that from this, but then I was like, okay, but that's the only good thing. And I'm like, there's a lot of great things. Like the X-Men animated series is one of the best comic book related things on the Marvel side for sure that's been on screen ever. And they grabbed that one piece, and then everything else is like, okay, we're just gonna do this.
If this was gonna be a pilot and we're gonna try to do this movie of it.
Yeah.
So first of all, like we left this villain that he could return. Like he might be back. But you could have done the same thing with a human entity, and just at the very end of it, see the glowing red eyes of a Sentinel like coming online.
Yeah. They did
that would have been your like that would have been
your
great ending
suit.
if you want to continue it instead of this
was it yellow and was it yellow and red?
I think so, right? Yeah, it was like
it had the X on it.
Why was he wearing this thing? So he abducts one of the kids and he wants to like do this surgery. It's been his whole deal, right? Yeah. He's gonna remove the brain of a mutant and take out the piece that makes him a mutant. And he goes to do this in this elaborate, bizarre building he has, and he decides to put on this. What the hell is this thing? Like a kimono cloak? Thing? Like, what? Where did we come from? And boy, the jokes in this are really inappropriate.
So that's the other thing. It's made for TV in '96. It's a Marvel-based film, which if anybody's watched or listened to these episodes that we do on here, we've done Man-Thing, and Man-Thing, there's actual nudity in it. So that's not the idea that Marvel wouldn't do that back in the '90s. It just happened to be that way. Or this is the Man-Thing was the early or mid 2000s. But something like that, like Jubilee takes her shirt off. Obviously there's no nudity, but like there's just like she's like holding her chest and stuff like that. It's like, okay, that's interesting.
Very uncomfortable.
There's a bunch of scenes in there that are like that, and they make some jokes that are like, holy crap. The whole when they go to the bathroom, he goes, I can see your beaver. And I'm like, what the hell is going on right now?
Yeah,
like,
I was the same thing. I was like, seriously, this is gonna be on like Fox television?
And
yeah, the kid that can like see through things and have like X-ray vision, and that's what he's.
Well, it did the right thing when he eventually saw through the girl that he was hanging out with. He saw through her pants and immediately left because it's like, that's not right. And that at least they,
And he stops looking. Yeah.
Yes. But also like not only dirty jokes, but there's also corny jokes like Officers Hootie and Officer Blowfish.
Yeah. This is what Emma Frost pulls out. Like Emma, this like amazing powers, and like she's supposed to be a high intellectual, and she's like Officer Hootie and Officer Blowfish. Like what? I don't know if they did that to like get the joke, or and they did it to like show that she can make anyone believe anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because she does it to this cop, and the cop's like, yeah, okay.
But then someone was like, no, we understand that that's not really what you are, because you Officer Hootie and Officer Blowfish. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. But also like someone in the writing room or someone on the team, like friends with Hootie and the Blowfish, are just huge fans of Hootie.
I'm just gonna name drop them.
Yeah, like let's just put them in there. I was trying to figure out
the scene where the guy's got the kid strapped down and he's like, I can't let you leave this realm with that hairdo, and he pulls out a razor and he's like, have you been circumcised? And I'm like,
yeah,
what the hell? what is happening right now?
We figured out why this never went any further, Paul. Like, this is it. They're like, we can't do this anymore.
We can't do this. Yeah.
But at the end of it, I'm joking about that, but at the end of it, like, they definitely set this up to continue. This was definitely not ended to like, okay, this is wrapped up.
The bad guy's defeated, and he's in this like mental institution, and you can see in his eye the dreamscape is there. So he's still out there somewhere, and he's creepy as hell, really, popping up in your dreams. So, they could have brought him back, and you could have had more of this story arc. And I don't know, If this had gone on, I would have watched it as a kid. We probably would still be discussing it for not being very good. But
yes, I mean, it wouldn't have gone more than a season probably. But like if you compared this to in what they have to work with, what they have to do, mutant powers are and that's another thing. Like X-Men or X-related things are so funny that they even went into making in real life, was the fact that they're like the most difficult out of all the superpowers out there to try to do.
Oh yeah,
like you can do people flying, but the X-Men, the whole idea is mutations. Seems like it's one of those things that, like, obviously invisibility is pretty simple and easy to do. They're just not in the room anymore. They just talk.
Right.
Mind powers obviously are pretty easy to do.
I'd say like some of these other that's trying to figure out how you're going to portray it and make it work, but they did fine with that. But yeah, like Banshee and his hollering. He never flew. We didn't get Banshee flying, but
honestly, out of the special effects, this is definitely early 90s, mid 90s special effects for TV.
Yeah.
But weren't that bad, like you mentioned off the top.
No.
Like the stretching skin.
Yeah.
Like I would watch a Fantastic Four movie with the special effects like that done. Like obviously they only did it twice or three times in the movie, really.
Yeah, two, 3 times in it, maybe.
They did the arm stretching. Power. We did arm stretching once or twice. Twice for sure.
Pinches him and
it pinches him, pulls the skin. But they look like the pinching. I was like, oh my god. I was like, oh, that actually doesn't look that bad. Like, doesn't look that hard.
No.
And his superpowers for was a husk. The husk version was that she took her shirt off and then she was like a bodybuilder. Like, it was like they just swapped out a different body, and I was like, okay, I can totally tell that's not the girl.
Yeah, and they didn't time that well either, because they show her like getting changed, trying on clothes, because she always wears like super big baggy clothes, and it's like she starts lifting the shirt and like looks just like a normal person, and then the other girl, Jubilee, walks in and she's just giant. Like... Yeah, ginormously.
And she's also, I think, standing like kind of like this. Like, why are you like? If no one's watching you, why are you?
Yeah, you're
flexing.
I mean, I flex all the time when no one's watching me, but that's not good.
But yeah, I don't know. It just seems like a difficult thing, and that's like one of those things. I'm reading the MCU book right now, Paul. The MCU, the Reign of Marvel Studios. It came out in October. It's like a biography about like how things happen behind the scenes. They talk to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
It's extremely good. And
is there a chapter about Generation X in it?
No, there isn't. But they talk about early days like this and how there was a lot of early days stuff that like they had either no control over, or
No.
people rushed into production and so on and so forth, trying to get things out there. Stan,
It's
I
got to
mean,
be
obviously,
frustrating sitting there with some of the stuff
yeah.
Fox did and
Well,
watching it, the
part of it
FF
also
stuff and
is
everything. Like,
Stan going in and saying, I want to make these things. And Stan
right.
just really wanted to, if there was one big fault, other than obviously we can talk for hours about who gets credit, all that stuff. We know that's
Yeah,
an
yeah,
issue.
yeah.
But another big fault for Stan as a wonderful as a man he was to comics and what he actually made and did for comics, one of his big faults was trying to be too much in Hollywood. And towards the end of his
Yeah.
big reign at Marvel, he was just in Los Angeles trying to push these Marvel on TV and all that sort of stuff. And sometimes things like this get made. Again, not bad. Like if you have to go into it, this
Not
is
really.
not Captain America Winter Soldier
Oh
or
God.
Captain America Civil War. This is not those movies. Or the X-Men from 2000, honestly.
So,
It's
so
not
I was
those
gonna say,
movies. But for what it is,
Emma's wearing what Emma wears in the comics and
yeah.
looks like Emma in the comics. And Banshee's not bad, like this, like, I don't know, black leather like vest thing he's wearing.
Yeah.
Like, he's not bad. And they did the right, like Jubilee grabs her yellow coat, her trademark, you know. But the end scene where the girl is in the new uniform,
Yep.
that right there would be a reason to not continue this series. When
Yes.
she shows up in this bright red spandex and the hair's all crazy done and this like belt buckle keeps glistening with the X
Yep.
on it,
Oh,
that
so
was a good
bad.
reason to wrap this up and not continue the series because that looked horrible.
The people behind
That
the
was
scenes were
really
like, yeah,
bad.
we're gonna go forward with this. And then they saw that scene and they're like, yeah, we're not doing it anymore. We're
Nope,
not,
this is
this is
canceled.
just because of
You
that.
had us
We're
until
done.
then. Done. Finish. Yeah, because the rest of it, like the costume and stuff, didn't look bad. So I really liked the girl who played Ari, their version of Husk.
Yep.
Like she was good in it, but if you're supposed to believe that she was this, like something about her muscle structure keeps like rebuilding itself, and she's like enormously
Mm-hmm.
jacked and everything, you can't really. I don't know if you really buy that a lot from this.
Yep.
Like I don't know, you maybe needed a taller actress or a larger like person because she's sort of small. Like she's smaller than most of the other characters
Yep.
there. So I feel like was a little bit hard on the casting side. But on the side of the powers and stuff, like the kid that they also, I think he was a self-created one as well, the one with the sunglasses.
Yeah, I had them up here. On IMDb, it's great because they list them all, but they don't actually
Yeah,
explain who they are, like what they are. So like Fiona Hughes, I'm not gonna go over everybody's names, but there's Emma Frost, White Queen.
yeah.
There's Sean Cassidy, who plays Banshee, or Sean Cassidy
He was
slash Banshee.
good.
Sorry, sorry.
He was good.
Um,
Like,
there was I can't. This like name is 17 names in it because it's M who ends up becoming Penance. It's like a morphed version
right.
of that. Jubilee, Mondo is in it.
And
Skin.
I don't know, is
So
Mondo's powers accurate that he can absorb whatever he's touching, I guess.
yeah, he
Right?
doesn't
Like
like
he just
he
goes
doesn't
along.
he doesn't like Jello. We know that much.
You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. And then so Skin is in there. Obviously, we talked about Skin.
Yep.
Oh, and then they changed the name of Susanna Davis, is the one you just mentioned, is to Buff,
Okay.
Buff, but her name was Buff.
Yes. Yeah.
In this, and then Refrax. I'm guessing Refrax is the name of the guy who emits radiation giving from X-ray vision and heat beams. Is that their we don't want to
Okay.
use or can't do X-Men character? You know what I mean? Like,
Right. Yeah, because he's Cyclops, like spot on.
well, I saw
He's
it for the first time. If you didn't look,
Cyclops, but he's
we have the
not
internet, right?
Cyclops.
We have the ability to
Right.
look up the internet, and we can actually look this up. But if you were to watch
Yeah.
this in 1996 on TV and just see that character show up on TV, you'd immediately think it was Cyclops. Like you would
It's
not
the
like
first
until
thing I
someone
thought.
says something. Yes, and then when they're
Yeah,
like, "Oh,
it's the
X-ray
first thing I
vision,"
thought.
I'm
Then
like,
when he's not Scott and they don't call
no,
him Cyclops and that, I'm like, okay. And then you find out like he's always wearing the sunglasses to help control his X-ray vision or
yes,
whatever. But he does have it in the blast he can control. It's not like Cyclopses that are
correct.
constant. And I don't know, it wasn't bad. You know, he's this 1996 blonde-haired, spiked-haired kid, and he takes the glasses off, and his eyes are like this grayish blue. Like,
Yep.
it wasn't bad. Like, and him using his powers weren't like horrible looking on screen. I mean, you figure they had at the same time Lois and Clark with Superman using his heat vision, and all that. So not terrible. They're casting for characters
No,
and
all
stuff.
the people. I mean, I would have liked, I don't know, Jubilation. Jubilee was pretty good, but like, there's something about Jubilee is she's probably one of my favorite X-Men, and that has to do with the early '90s cartoon probably more than anything. Is
Sure.
that I feel like when they eventually put Jubilee in like the MCU and things like this, like I really want it to be nailed for casting because I just feel like there's just
I
so
don't think
much
this was
to
the
her,
perfect Jubilee,
you know?
but
Not bad. No, I'm saying like it's
not
not
bad.
like none of this was bad. The only weird and creepy thing was like they took a Jim Carrey character and made him the villain because I feel like that's the reason why they made him the villain was because he probably tried out for a different character auditioning and they're like, oh, you're freaking weird. You're the villain. We're making a villain, everybody. This is it.
Yeah, we got one. This is the guy.
And yeah, but the casting was done well. The scene, there were some weird scenes like like obviously there's dream really sequences in there. The dancing scene where he brings her dancing in the woods. And then you realize the dream
like jungle or something. Yeah, that was.
I was just like, that's what your dream is to go dancing. Like, is that their interpretation? Like, we can't see them sleeping with each other because this is TV, so we can't get his real fantasies. This is as close as we're gonna get. They're dancing in the jungle.
And here he is, like, I mean, he's trapped in the school and this and that. So I guess whatever. He's out doing his thing with this girl that he has the hots for.
Yeah, that's the same. That might be what it is. The teens will be teens thing. The whole like going out on the town and wanting to be like free and all that stuff. That they still have the powers. The way they treated how people treated mutants, like they treated them as lesser people and stuff like that. It makes like that worked out well. Did you know the mansion? So the mansion for the Xavier Institute is Hatley Castle, which is also used for Xavier's school in X2, X-Men The Last Stand, X-Men Days of Future Past, Deadpool, and X-Men Apocalypse, as well as Deadpool 2.
No kidding.
Yeah, so that's the one
when they pulled up to it. I was like, okay, that's cool. Yeah, because
there's multiple X movies that use that same castle. So in the same sense, it's like, well, at least they had some of that on scene, like
we have that time. So
good. Yeah.
So in supposedly the potential of Deadpool 3 and him breaking the fourth wall and going multiple dimension wise. Right?
No, we're not
going to show up in Generation X.
Oh my god! The funny thing is, it'd be for people like you and I who are like, that's like fan service, but like, who the hell would know anybody out there?
Well, you said the guy's still acting. Deadpool could just like pop into a dream and the guy's doing all this weird stuff, and Deadpool just like bang.
The funny thing is, though, is like,
what was hard about this?
The Deadpool movies, though, like my wife loves the Deadpool movies, but doesn't want to watch. I mean, she likes the MCU a little bit, but she doesn't care as much about it. That the people
my wife does not like the Deadpool movies.
The Deadpool 3, if he's gonna do all that stuff, like half the stuff in the Deadpool 3 movie, if they do that stuff, are gonna go fly over people like your wife and my wife's heads. Like,
I have no idea.
Like, we'll get some of it. Like, all of a sudden, I know we'll be like, oh my god, and then you'll be like, oh wait, that's only I'm gonna get that. Taylor has no idea
what's happening right now.
But
yeah, who is that person and why did he kill him?
Why did that guy sound like Jim Carrey, but it wasn't Jim Carrey? I don't understand this right now. But for like, it made sense when you were watching it. When I was watching, so when we watched Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., we're like, okay.
Oh, this was much better than Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yes. And when you watch
it had a plot and a purpose. Like,
they were going, like, it made sense. I would love to know more about this. I'd love to know a little bit about like why it didn't move forward. Like, what was the actual reasoning for it? Because obviously it got moved from a pilot. It got moved from a pilot to a
TV movie.
To a TV movie. So obviously they put the money in and they're like, oh, I guess we'll continue going on with it somehow. So it's not like they wanted to bury it.
No. And yeah, they got. I didn't see that it got more than the one whatever movie night Fox was trying to promote.
February 20th, 1996.
About it. Like,
well, here's the reason why it didn't move forward. It's the same reason why, like,
did this ever come out on like DVD or something? Was this possible to even purchase back then?
Nope.
There's no VHS. No.
Nope.
It's just disappeared. Wow, that's weird.
But like, so Agent Carter. You remember the show Agent Carter? It was on ABC.
I never.
That had 2 seasons. It was critically acclaimed, and I believe it won some awards, but got canceled because no one watched it. And so that's, I think, something like this, something like the movie. On the night that the movie was played,
really good, and I still never watched it.
The movie tied for 72nd out of 108 Nielsen rated programs that night. So there was only
I found it, folks.
What?
On eBay, you can
What?
purchase Generation X, the DVD, the 1996 movie release. Welcome to the future. Heroes are no longer born; they are created. Generation
did
X.
put it out. They have it on Blu-ray. It's available on Blu-ray, Paul.
There's a movie poster for it.
$50 on Etsy. Jesus.
Oh, wait a minute. What? Generation X, the movie poster, it has Mutant, and it's Generation Sweepstakes, sponsored by Sega, the makers of Sega Saturn, Clear Skybox, Toy Biz. Like, everybody and their brother is promoted on this poster. The world premiere of the original movie coming to Fox February 1996. I kind of want to buy this poster and hang it up in the comic store. We need a bigger store to have like so people can come in and be like, "What the hell is that?"
Here you go, live action. So on Etsy, someone's selling a Blu-ray of it. There's no way someone made a Blu-ray of it. Seriously? Why is it not available anywhere else?
I can't find a Blu-ray. All I can find is and the DVD copy is like from '96. It's old and grungy looking in the case, but there it is. It's out there.
The cover of this Blu-ray actually looks legit. Like, it looks like something that could be made nowadays. Honestly, it's got the nice, cool Generation X logo on it, like the good one,
right?
Which is actually also what they use. But the poster for this thing, the Generation X logo is the Generation X logo from the comics.
Yeah, it's straight up. They're trying to promote the comics, and the movie casing looks like they tried to make this like a horror, and it's got the old Marvel Comics logo right on it.
That's
a new breed of superheroes, Generation X. Yeah, I don't know how did I never see this somewhere? I used to buy, like, when I got my first job and started having, like, expendable money, I bet I bought anywhere from 3 to 5 movies a week. Like, paycheck comes, I'd go out, grab some movies. I bought movies galore, and it's crazy I never even saw this thing.
Well, I'm trying to figure out whether or not, like, the poster makes sense, but the Blu-ray, this person, it says on Etsy, it says handmade, ships from Vermont. My guess is that someone made, like,
someone made this whole thing.
Picture is okay, not HD sound. Very cool.
Justin, the one hardcore fan has made Blu-rays of this and is trying to get this on the market for you people
for $45. And here's the issue.
I don't think I would spend $45 on this movie.
Here's the big thing, Paul. Ready for this? There's only 9 of them left.
$18.99.
There's 9 left of this Blu-ray, whatever someone made. It's in the 3 people's carts, Paul.
Like, there's a cult following for Generation X.
I'm gonna have to link that on the website when we post this thing. Be like, you can buy it on Etsy right now. Go get on
support this Blu-ray, possibly illegal.
I don't know what's going on there.
Who knows what this is?
So the thing is it set itself up.
But that's the funny. I mean, eBay. I only see the one DVD. I don't see any more. Yeah. That's it. But it's like a legit. So there's a cult following for Generation X. All right.
But the thing is, it's funny. Like, if you look at the reviews on this Etsy thing, people are like, the reviews for never mind. This is for this shop. Never mind. You know what I didn't look up is I couldn't look up Amazon reviews to this because it's not on Amazon.
It's not on Amazon. Yeah, it doesn't exist Amazon world.
No. So, but it set itself up to be such a good thing. Like, it was definitely well made for what it is. Okay, let's
what it is.
Let's talk. Yeah. This is February 21st, 1996. We're on this podcast right now. We're talking the day after it aired on TV.
Dude, I would have been friggin' stoked. I'm sure.
Yes.
I've been like, this was awesome.
That's pre everything else we've been able to get over the past 30 years.
Yeah, there wasn't anything else.
20 years.
We had the old stuff when I was a kid that was around from like the 70s and 80s that were really bad. And you get like the Dolph Lundgren Punisher that I watched like too many times to probably say.
Coming up on the Capes and Tights podcast.
Coming up on Capes and Tights, I get to rewatch it again. But yeah, I watched it because it was a Marvel movie and I had Punisher action figures and this and that. But yeah, realistically, there wasn't anything else besides me. And back then, to get like the X-Men 92 series, I was spending a fortune and buying the VHS copies at Toys R Us and at Suncoast Cinema. So that way I could watch them. And I'd always be like, you know, you're missing them because they were numbered and that series had a continuing plot line.
Yep.
So like if I had 1, 2, 3, and then they only had 5 and 8, I kept waiting to try to find 4 so then I could get 4 and 5. But there wasn't anything else. So like I would have been freaking stoked after watching this. You know,
I mean,
1996 Paul would have been like, this was the greatest thing I ever come on television.
And I've watched a lot of X-Files. I've watched a lot of the stuff from the 90s and early 2000s where the special effects were not the highest grade. And this fit right in there. This is not like one of those things where like oddly stood out like this is not good special effects. This is not good, whatever. At the time, what they were doing on TV with a budget of $4 million, that is a great job.
It's spot on. It matches all of it for its era. Yeah, 100%.
And I can see how.
So there was of course, they had that $1 million budget, but there was the FF movie of its time that got made versus like I said that I went and watched Lois and Clark, and Lois and Clark looked much better of Superman flying and doing things and using his heat vision, all this than the FF movie did with its, but it had a $1 million budget. I'm sure Lois and Clark probably spent close to $1 million an episode or better in 90, whatever that was, 93. So yeah, comparatively. But if you watch anything from 96, this fits right in with it. Like, I mean, this fits in with probably most 1996 special effect movies. If you go back and watch sci-fi movies of this era.
And the acting they casted for the teenagers or the young. First of all, great that they used they used teenagers, which is what it should be. Like, unlike all of a sudden I know in the X-Men movies it was like, cool, they're young, and then all of a sudden they're like 40-year-old men, and it's like that. No, it's not. That's not. We want young.
What's happened here?
Young. But like they would have been heartthrobs in a sense. Like they would have been the people that were out there at comic conventions signing autographs. If they were like they are nowadays, signing autographs, these things, and doing all these things.
Spot on.
Had posters on the wall of them and stuff like that. So
this was popular. Kids would be dyeing their hair like bleach blonde to be like the kid from the kid with the sunglasses, wearing sunglasses in school all the time.
Refracts.
There we go. I'm never gonna remember that kid's name.
We're gonna change the podcast name. It's the Refracts Podcast. We should. That's our movie review episode segments. They're Refracts episodes.
Look at us. Take sunglasses down.
But boiling it down, it's poor man's X-Men from 2000. That's the other side of things. 4 years later, we get the X-Men movie that came out. And you're like, oh, this is what it should have been like. And
so you know what's funny? As a diehard X-Men fan and a diehard X-Men 92 fan, I have more problems with X-Men, the X-Men movie, than I do with this. If you want to get right into it. Like, you get down to it. I have a lot more problems with that movie than I do with this.
So, obviously, I did not set you up for this ahead of time to talk to you about this. But what dropped yesterday on the day that this actually drops on social media, on the internet, and all that stuff, I did all 15 live-action X-Men films ranked. I did. There's 15 of them technically, because it also includes this, which is Generation X. It also includes Dark Phoenix, obviously all those movies, New Mutants, Deadpool. All those are technically the X-Men movies. And then obviously you have Logan, stuff like that as well. So
all right, so I'm gonna throw one guess too. I'm gonna say that X-Men 2 is number 1 and Logan's number 2.
X-Men 1 is number 2.
Okay. Well.
Logan's number 1.
Logan's number 1, okay.
Yeah, and then
so
Deadpool
for my ranking, I think I put X2 as my top movie, and then I would have Logan's number 2.
X2 for me is number 6.
Wow.
But that's because I liked the Days of Future Past and the First Class movies a lot, the more recent ones.
I hated those movies.
And then Deadpool. Deadpool was up there. So
if you're gonna count Deadpool in with the X-Men stuff, then I would have.
They go to the mansion.
Deadpool would be very highly ranked. In fact, the first Deadpool movie might be my number 1.
But I will also spoil this for you to tell you right now that originally, when I first watched the beginning of this thing, I was like, this is gonna be the worst X-Men movie ever made. It's the Generation X.
Right.
However, Dark Phoenix was so bad.
Oh god, that movie sucks.
Dark Phoenix is number 15 and Generation X is number 14. So the funny thing is that I had
for all you Generation X fans out there,
and the thing is also as bad as New Mutants was, I had to just, it's an edge. There's an edge to New Mutants over this. There's an edge to New Mutants over this. That's all. There has to be an edge, and that's mainly because if you're looking at all of them and you're ranking them all, it's like, yes, this was made in 96, but in the same sense, like, at least they did, the special effects were better in New Mutants, if that makes any sense. I know it has to do with the fact that it was 25 years later, but still, I don't know. Yeah, so there has to be that when I go back to it and look at it and go, okay. So Number 14 is Generation X. Number 13 is New Mutants, and then obviously Dark Phoenix is so bad.
I have to watch all of them so I could make a list because I have not watched New Mutants. And honestly, I really did not like the second wave of X-Men movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't even finish the Apocalypse one.
Yeah.
Like I didn't even finish it. So I would have to go back and actually sit and watch them all.
But that's to me, the
X-Men 3 was not particularly good either.
No, that's
like Kelsey Grammer as Beast was excellent, and Beast, at least at the time, because I haven't watched it since then. At the time, Beast looked good on screen. I don't know if he still does. So but overall,
number 10 is X-Men Last Stand. So third X-Men movie is 10, and number 11 is X-Men Apocalypse. So the X-Men Apocalypse was not good. And then honestly,
so I'm not wrong in that at least.
The worst of the worst of the original runs of X-Men before they went to the new ones was X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Oh God, yeah, that is terrible.
Yeah, that was one from 2009.
Both of those Wolverine movies are really bad.
Yeah, so because I mean, though Wolverine I have at number 9, but that's only because after that is Last Stand, after that is Apocalypse, after that is Wolverine.
Yeah, it's really bad. Comparatively, it's still better than these other ones.
Yes, it's it's not in the better top half.
Origins with the Deadpool Ryan Reynolds being just butchered was just horrendous.
And so this is like we've got a scale of X-Men movies that we've got out there, that we've got this, and the fact that first of all, it's the whole thing about when we talked about the Fantastic Four, how the Fantastic Four movie that never was released to me was the best Fantastic Four movie ever made. And that says
I haven't watched all of them, but I'm going to say it probably is.
Also says something that this 1996 made for TV movie was better than Dark Phoenix. That also says something. Like that's how bad
Dark Phoenix that got a worldwide release, had a fortune spent on it and all this and that. And it is, I couldn't stomach it. I tried. I'm out. I'm done.
So, but yeah. So for X-Men fans, it's worth watching this for sure. If you can watch that, like you said, I didn't know. Did you look it up to see if you can see it on YouTube or?
It popped up on YouTube. I didn't watch it on YouTube to go in and see if it was a full length movie or if it was like clips or something. But YouTube did pop it right up.
Three years ago, someone put it on here. Started playing music in the background here. Hold on. Mute that. Every time I do that, I'm always like, oh my God, people can hear that. But I realized that I can hear it. Oh yeah, it's on here. It's on here. You can watch it on YouTube. Not knowing whether or not that's legal or not, but it's definitely on there. It's obviously made in low resolution because it came out in 96. So it's not like it's high def, everybody out there, just so you know. And that might help it because we're like, if the things are blurry, the special effects might look better.
It looks better. Yeah. I mean, that's like watching the original Transformer movie. I went from watching Terminator. I went from watching Terminator on VHS, which you're like, oh, wow, to Blu-ray where it cleans everything up. And I'm like, oh God. And I was like, I was watching it on a VCR on your old school 80s television, like watching it every day. Terminator's the greatest thing that ever happened. I went straight to Blu-ray and flat screen and I'm like, oh my God, this is not good.
Well, it's like, always when HD started coming out like big. I was working at Circuit City and Best Buy at the time, and like when people were like HD TVs and HD movies and Blu-rays and HD DVD was the one that was Toshiba was putting out that was competing with Blu-ray.
I remember that.
So, they were like, oh yeah, and porn's gonna be in high definition. I'm like, dude, no one wants to watch high definition porn.
You don't want to see that.
The people that are doing these movies, no one's like, oh, I want to see their body crystal clear. And like, no, we don't. When we were growing up, you're watching HBO on the flickered TV. You'd be happier than watching HD porn. I just never understood that. Like, why would you want to do that? It's like, oh God. But yeah. So there's certain things that make sense to watch in lower resolution. And I would say,
you
Generation
X
makes sense.
Yeah, you don't want to see some of these old 90s and 80s produced movies in high definition. It's not going to improve it for your viewing experience. Howard the Duck. You don't want to watch Howard the Duck in super high def. Howard the Duck on VHS probably looks much better.
I have it in Blu-ray though. So. Howard the Duck, man. I love Howard the Duck. Howard the Duck shows up in What If season 2 if anybody wants to watch that. The first episode actually.
I haven't watched. I didn't even finish the first season of What If. I still have to finish that. I was watching it with the girls and they lost interest. And
Seth Green is the voice of, who also has voiced Howard the Duck in every MCU production that he's been in. So like the post-credit scenes, the thing he's been in the background, it's all been Seth Green.
That's cool.
So if they don't continue that, if they actually do a Howard the Duck movie or TV show, that's gonna be really upsetting to me because I like
It's
Seth
not
Green's
Seth
voice.
Green. Yeah, it's fair.
Yeah. Seth Green of It fame, of Stephen King's It fame, because he was one of the losers of the Loser Club.
Yeah.
One of the ones that didn't come to Bangor because he's too.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's got stuff to do. He's important.
Yes, exactly. But I think it's worth it. I think it's well made. I will say though, it's a 1-star movie in my book. It's still not, if you even if you just rate it based on other X-Men movies out there, it's like out of all the scale of a movie, it's not great.
If you want,
so you can't.
Yeah, if you want to talk about like the actual movie quality of everything, I'm not gonna like stop this halfway through and be like, "Hun, you gotta watch this with me. It's so good." Not like rewinding it and watching it again. But yeah, it's probably a 1-star, 2-star, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and I guess, do you want me to, like, I can look up to see what we did for other movies if you want to, like.
Yeah, let's go comparatively here. What did it have, like 25% on Rotten Tomatoes or something? It was pretty low.
And 4.4 on IMDb, which actually is not horrid for a lot of these things. 4.4
right.
is your 4.5, 4 to 5, somewhere around there. It's just a bad movie, but doesn't mean that it's
I liked this far more than I liked Man-Thing. I thought this was it was at least fun. It at least kept me entertained. But it was sort of watching a bit of my childhood again. It was like watching the old high school stuff, like, because it growing up on it. If you didn't grow up on any of this and you didn't live through this era, it probably doesn't hit you as well without that nostalgia vibe.
Together, we, like I said, sometimes you were 2.5, I was 1.5, or whatever we put it as. So Howard the Duck was a 2. Man-Thing was a 1.
Yeah.
Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. was a 0.5 star.
Yeah, no, that's accurate.
So those are the ones that we've done recently. Obviously, Batman Returns does not count because it's more, we did that for Christmas, not for like.
Yeah. Batman Returns is a little better than this, I'm gonna say, folks. Although, like I had said in the podcast for Batman Returns, watching it without my nostalgia and without my childhood love and all of this, Batman Returns has got a lot of flaws in it that I didn't really consider until I watched it from another perspective.
But I gave it a 1 star. I don't know what you want to do, but
I'd give this 1.5. I'd go 1.5. I think that, my time is done. This is level to Howard the Duck. I think it's probably honestly a little better than Howard the Duck for me. So there we go.
I know, it's
definitely
to me,
Howard the Duck better than Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Howard the Duck always gets a little bit of a push for me because I just freaking love the character Howard the Duck. Like, he's just dope. I just love Howard the Duck.
This had more consistency than Howard the Duck. Let's go with that.
Yeah. I mean,
and he didn't have the weird claymation monster at the end. Although the beginning scene, I did not have high hopes for this with the beginning scene when they have a mutant tied up and he has a weird, you never really see it all, but a weird claw looking something. Hand. When Emma Frost barges in the room and makes this, like, everything goes flying around, that opening sequence, I was like, oh boy. I mean, and that might have helped too because I was getting ready. I'm like, here we go.
Yeah.
This is
on for the ride.
Suck.
We're on a ride here.
All right. Be prepared. This is going to be a painful 90 minutes. And then it turned around. Like, honestly, it got much better from that spot.
It was, like I said, it wasn't a bad movie. And I'll tell you right now, if you tell, oh, which movie would you pick, this or Dark Phoenix? I'd watch this over again. It's not, it's just what's going to happen. So that this against Wolverine Origins, this against X-Men Last Stand, like, there's definitely movies that I'm going to watch over this one, even if I rank this one lower than those, because there's a difference between ranking, in my opinion, of like how good a movie is and versus, obviously we've talked about this in the past, of how rewatchable a movie is. Like, this is rewatchable, and there's other movies that are just not even close to being rewatchable. Out of all the movies that we've watched so far on these things, like Howard the Duck, rewatchable. Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not. And so, like, even like some of these movies are so no.
Howard Generation X, I could say, if you want to watch something sort of fun and from this era, watch Generation X.
Yes, and
if you want to watch something fun from this era, do not watch the Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
No. Do not.
Unless you want to watch David, help me out.
Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff, like,
hey, David Hasselhoff, isn't that what from Guardians of the Galaxy? David Hasselhoff.
Yeah. So unless you want to watch him not really try.
Read the MCU book that I'm reading right now. Is well worth it. It just came out in October. But in there, supposedly, Ike Perlmutter, the former owner of Marvel Comics and Marvel Entertainment and all that stuff, had promised David Hasselhoff that anytime Nick Fury showed up on screen, that he would be Nick Fury. And when they
we got the Billy D. Williams thing here from Two-Face,
and they did not get Samuel L. Jackson's permission to start putting him in comic books looking like Samuel L. Jackson. And they did get contacted by his representative saying, should we be suing you? And then they said to them, if we do put him in movies, we'd like to use him, and end up working out in his favor. But also, you'll notice that in the MCU, in the history of the MCU, Nick Fury has ran once, and it's because he's contractually obligated not to run in a movie. They had to convince him to run in most movies. Like a lot of the action scenes and things, he's moving fast and he's driving a car. Because
interesting.
But during Civil War, he was 65. So who the hell is making a 65-year-old man a national treasure in Hollywood for us? Right. Like, yeah. Like that's just crazy. Yeah. So those are the kind of fun things. But like David Hasselhoff was given this role because Ike Perlmutter wanted to give it to him, and he does look like and we talked about that. He does look like Nick Fury.
And the casting wasn't bad if he came into it like he was trying, and if the rest of the thing wasn't ridiculous.
And that's the thing. That's the other problem they had in this thing. They actually talk about it in this book, that it was supposed to be a comedy / action thing, but then as the rewrites and things happen and things like that, it was like moments that were supposed to be funny weren't funny, and moments that were supposed to be serious were funny, and it didn't just hit correctly. And that's why
just none of that worked.
That's why it's basically floated off into the ether out there, because people don't really want to see it. But I think this is well worth watching. I think people should do that. It's definitely a watchable movie. Check it out. You say I'm gonna link it when we put this out there, as well as when I ranked in the post that has all the ranked movies. I have links to where you can watch them, and it's obviously we'll click to the YouTube page. So obviously take an hour and a half out of your time and watch them. There's better than a lot of the junk that's out there right now. I've watched some bad movies over the past couple of years, and this is far better than some of those that are out there. But
I'll agree.
Yeah, that was excellent. So Galacticon, we were trying to talk about Galacticon at the end of the last episode that you were on. And the power went out.
And then we got hit by like a borderline hurricane.
And then we both didn't get it back for like 3 days. So
that sucks.
I just re-recorded last week's episode with the guy that was also supposed to record that day. We had to record a different day because of that, which is great. But that worked out in our benefit, because the fact that he had a book get announced, or roughly a teaser for a book get announced in between the time that he was supposed to record and came on. Brian McCauley wrote a book called Candy Cane Kills. He had been, the Shortwave Publishing has teased his book Candy Cane Kills 2. And so that came out like literally 2 days after we were supposed to record. So we were able to like chat about that. Same thing here, everybody.
That's cool.
Because since the last time we were supposed to talk about this on here till now, things
have happened.
Tell you right now that when this episode drops, so when you're listening to this on your way to work on Wednesday morning, January 31st, tomorrow morning, or tomorrow at noon, February 1st,
tomorrow at noon,
you can buy tickets to the 2024 inaugural Galacticon comic show in Brewer, Maine. So this only fits to like 10% of our listeners. However,
I think it's fair to say our first of many Galacticons.
Yes. And so we're excited for that. So tickets drop tomorrow, according to this episode dropping, but I'll say the date, February 1st, on Galacticon comic shows. GalacticonComicShow.com.
Folks.
Yes.
Be on Eventbrite. Be ready to punch that ticket order, because they're going to sell out. I'm going to say
they're going to sell out. So check that out. So if you're looking for a link, it's GalacticonComicShow.com. But we are going to post something tomorrow on February 1st on the Galacticon website, as well as social media platforms for Galactic Comics, Capes and Tights, all that stuff for links. That's those people who live within driving distance or whatever. If you want to fly, again, offer still stands. If you fly and you prove that you flew into Bangor for this show, your free entry. Telling you that right now. That offer still stands. It's not going to happen, but we'll do it.
If there's a line of people without tickets and they're like, hey, here's my boarding pass from Cincinnati and from Chicago, be like, what the hell?
That doesn't matter to me. So yes, that offer still stands. If you flew in for Galacticon, you get a free ticket. And then so GalacticonComicShow.com. We're going to also announce in coming weeks artists that are coming, creators that are coming to the show, both local from Maine, New England, and beyond, as well as national artists and writers that are coming here for that convention, which is going to be pretty fun, or that comic show. So check out that. All that information will be on Galacticon's social media, so check all those out. So you can just type in Galacticon Comic Show. We're out there on Instagram and Facebook. So that that's, and then obviously the website will have other information on that as well.
We'll start doing some vendor shout outs and all that.
Yes,
look forward to what we can have. And I want to start having some of the vendors show off something they're bringing. You know what I mean? Like, what's the coolest thing you're going to bring to the show? You know, is it going to be the first appearance of, take a pick, you know, first we have ASM 300, or, you know, we just had Hulk
Generation X.
First appearance, the best book I have, first appearance Generation X. Whatever it is, show it off. I mean, we just had Hulk 181 in the store, the first appearance of Wolverine. We'll use air quotes because 180, but that's all right.
But that's the world of comics.
I can't bring that to Galacticon though, unless I find another one, because that's sold.
There's possibility the purchaser will buy it, will bring it.
That's true. That's possible too.
We'll see. We're not going to say who it was. You have to go out there and find it on your. I know who bought it, but I'm not going to say. You can go out there and find that out. But yeah, and also if you're looking to be a vendor and you haven't heard about us vending opportunities and stuff like that, hello at capesandtights.com. You can actually send it to there too. That will work.
I mean, it does work. But
hello at galacticoncomicshow.com. We'll get you into our inbox, and then we'll get back to you about getting signed up for a vendor table as well. You have to be selling comics, please.
Yes, comics. That's our goal. And we are pretty close to capacity, I think, on vendor. Yeah, there isn't a lot of vending space left.
But email us, because that also means that if you email us now, you'll get on the list that if you don't make it in, A, cancellations, we'll call you, let you know the obtain, and B, next year. So you have a couple of creators
2024, baby. Or 2025. We're in 2024.
Whose schedules didn't work. Some of the creators, but they're like, put us on the list, we'll be there next year. So there's some people that were supposed to come this year, are going to come next year, and so on and so forth. That works for vendors as well. So make sure you check that out. And then Galactic Comics, Hammond Street, Bangor.
Galactic Comics. The place is insane. The place is nuts.
It is. Well, the owner.
I can't even post comic books before they sell sometimes.
Well, where you're sitting right now, you think you only sell action figures and Legos.
I know. I sat out back today, so you can see. I mean, you can sort of see.
You got boxes behind you.
Boxes. There's boxes behind me. They're dollar bin, but there's boxes back here. But I didn't sit. If I sat out front, we would have the beautiful wall of goodness behind me right now with Defenders 1, Defenders 2, where Silver Surfer joins the Defenders. First appearance of Valkyrie is out front. There's the list goes on of cool key comic books in the shop right now. But
you can buy Haunt You to the End in trade paperback.
To the End. You can buy Legacy of Violence Volume 2. For all of you,
I will pitch something when you're done.
Oh, here's a question: how much are you charging for autographs for you to get one of those copies signed?
Free. You buy it from Galactic Comics. You gotta buy it from Galactic Comics. You get it for free. Free signature. No, I will not sign one. I'll tell you that right now. I'll pull an A-Rod, and the fact that he won't sign. Or no, Jason Varitek won't sign. Both of them, I don't think, won't sign the A-Rod pushing Jason Varitek's face at the Red Sox and the Yankees. Neither one of them will sign that picture. But I will pitch that this is the last episode of January. January 7th from Scout Comics, our friend Zach Kaplan's trade paperback of Forever Forward is being dropped. It's a collection of his series that came out last year, the year before, of time travel, thrilling adventure story that I just finished over the weekend as of recording this, and it is excellent. It is wonderful. Nice. It's about a guy who is working on time travel, can only travel forward in time, is unable to travel backwards in time, and he accidentally gets his group of friends that are together, the machine goes off, sends them forward 33 years, where he gets messages on a wall that says the only way back is to go forward. And so he has to go forward 33 years at a time until he gets to the point where someone does invent the ability to go back. And so he can go back.
Interesting.
So,
that's pretty
things
cool.
happen along the ways, and people have to make decisions and all these other things.
Yeah.
Every time they go to new places,
good.
There's post-apocalyptic style places, there's robot invasions, there's all this stuff that these people have to make decisions like, do I continue going forward, or is this the best it's going to get? And so on and so forth. So I think it's excellent.
What's coming next?
It's that's wonderful. Cool. I don't promote a lot of books on here that are not whatever, but Zach's also great because he wrote Mindset and Beyond Real, and those are amazing books as well. So, but yeah, It's called Forever Forward, coming from Scout Comics, trade paperback, hitting February 7th. So talk to your local comic shop. Right?
Hey, look at that. Find your LCS. If not, then message us and we'll be your LCS.
Paul will be back again. On the podcast here soon too. Well, I say soon, we're gonna record soon. Paul's next episode is actually not gonna probably hit till sometime in end of March. And that's mainly just because we're gonna record ahead of time because I have a baby coming and
you have stuff happening.
The episodes that we record, we're gonna be recording The Punisher from 1989 with Dolph Lundgren and Doctor Strange from 1978. Another little known movie.
Holy smokes.
But those two movies will be the next two to do.
1978 Doctor Strange special effects. I cannot wait to see what this looks like.
And so because of that, I'm not going to tell you dates or episodes because the idea behind recording these two is I'm going to fill them in spots where
when you're a little busy.
Yes, where the baby's coming and things like that. But they'll be out before April. That's the plan, before mid-April. So we'll make that work. But yeah, cool. Paul, another movie review in the books.
Another one done.
On the shelves.
Look at us go.
We're
Generation X. Find your one copy of DVD on eBay, apparently.
Well, at least with Punisher 1989, we're probably going to have people listening to this who have actually watched the show, watched the movie.
Yeah.
Because that's actually one that's
watched, it's actually watched it. Yeah.
So,
know, I've had a couple people that didn't realize that because they loved the modern Punisher.
Yeah.
And they didn't even know the Thomas Jane Punisher existed. They didn't know any of this. And I'm like, seriously, how did you miss out on all this?
There's also a short film Punisher.
Yes, there is. That's also very good.
I think he
also
produced
better
and directed
than Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and also better than Man-Thing.
Did that was written, directed, and I think
by
it was written
Thomas
directed.
Jane.
Yeah,
he did all of it. Yeah, and he flipped the bill for it all.
Yeah, he liked being Punisher so much that he wanted to do this. He wanted to tell the story. Yeah, it's called Punisher Dirty Laundry, or just called Dirty Laundry. It might be just called Dirty Laundry because he can't. He couldn't officially call it Punisher, so I think they should just call it Dirty Laundry.
If you want to watch, a bad, really bad one, I think Punisher Warzone would probably take the cake.
But if you want to get prepared for the next episode that Paul is on for a movie review, watch the 1989 Punisher with Dolph Lundgren, because that would be the movie that we'll be discussing. I don't know, honestly. I don't know how I found Doctor Strange from 1978. So in the meantime, if I do figure out how to watch it or figure that out, I will put that on social media saying to prepare for that one as well. But yeah, the Punisher one is available. You can find that online. I think you can
there's got to be a copy of the 78 Doctor Strange somewhere that someone's bootlegged and selling Blu-rays of.
Yeah, obviously, but
there's a person who absolutely loves that movie somewhere.
The Punisher 1989 one is available on Blu-ray. You can buy that, as well as, I believe, maybe not. Maybe you can't stream it on there.
I owned it on VHS. I know
it's on DVD too, so I'm sure you can find it somewhere.
I don't know if I still own. I don't have any VHS tapes anymore, and I don't think I ever replaced that one. So I don't think I have a hard copy of it anymore. But
maybe it is kind of hard to find. Watch Punisher 1989. The trailer is on YouTube. Oh, the actual whole movie's on YouTube.
Oh, there you go.
Again, I don't know how long they stay.
When in doubt, YouTube it.
But I don't know. A lot of times those are on there, but I'm like, shouldn't that be taken down for copyright violation? But whatever.
You would think so.
I didn't put it up there, and it's not my company. So if you find it on there, watch it on there. So cool. Thanks, Paul. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon. I'll see you this week. But yeah, until then, until the next time, guys.
Till next time.
Read comics.
Oh yeah.